When Lewis and Clark made their way back from the Pacific Ocean, they told of an abundance of furs all throughout the Rocky Mountains. And the fur trappers made their way, and they trapped and lived among the American Indians. And while they were living among them, they learned many of their stories. A long time ago, way back at the very beginning of time, it was said all of the birds and all of the animals could talk to one another. Now this time when the birds and the animals could talk to one another, they were always getting into arguments. They were always arguing over who was the best, the birds or the animals. It got to be so bad that they started getting into fights, and they knew something had to be done. So they went out into a big field and they drove 2 wooden posts at this end of the field. They went to the other end of the field and drove 2 more wooden posts. Then they took a little piece of leather, cut it out in a circular pattern, and sewed it together until it made about the size of a baseball. Now the way they were going to play this game is they were going to toss the ball into the air, and whoever caught it would either run or fly past their goal line and score a point. And the first team to score 12 points would win the game. All of the animals were gathered at their goal. All of the birds were gathered at their goal. It was time for the game to begin. The ball was tossed into the air, and the mighty hawk flew out of the sky, and Hawk caught the ball, and Hawk flew past the goal line, and the birds scored the first goal. The animals said that was just beginner's luck, and it wouldn't happen again. The ball was tossed into the air, and this time, away we stay. Little Deer caught the ball, and Little Deer ran as fast as a deer can run, and he scored a goal, and the animals scored. And the score was tied 1-1. The ball was tossed into the air, and this time the birds scored, and then the animals, and back and forth it went, until finally the score was tied 11-11. Whoever would score the next point would win the game. The ball was tossed into the air, and the mighty eagle flew out of the sky. Eagle caught the ball close to the ground. He was flying towards the goal line. Bear saw that the birds were going to win the game. Bear took his mighty paw, rah! And when he did, Eagle ducked underneath his paw and dropped the ball right on the back of the animal's secret weapon, the skunk. The ball fell on Skunk's back, and Skunk started making his way to the goal line of the animals. All of the birds were sitting around in the trees saying, "You go stop him, you go stop him, I don't want to stop him, you go stop him, you go stop him." None of the birds wanted to stop that smelly skunk. But finally, Turkey Buzzard said, "Well, I'll go. I'll stop him. I'll go. I'll stop him." And Turkey Buzzard flew out of the trees. He flew down in front of Skunk. He took his long talons, his long claws, and raked them right across Skunk's back, causing those white stripes that all skunks still have on their back to this day. But when he got past Skunk, he looked underneath his wing to see if he had got the ball from Skunk's back. And when he looked underneath his wing, Skunk raised up his tail. And he sprayed Turkey Buzzard right in the head. Turkey Buzzard flew over to the trees. He landed in the trees and he said, "This is horrible." Ugh. And he began plucking feathers out of the top of his head. And that is why, to this day, Turkey Buzzards always fly by themselves. Why they smell so bad, and why they have no feathers in the top of their head. Well, next Owl, one of the wisest birds, Owl said, "I'll go, I'll stop him, I'll go, I'll stop him." Now Owl was indeed a wise bird, and Owl hoped to sneak up on Skunk from behind, but as he got close to Skunk, Skunk raised up his tail and sprayed Owl right in the face. Owl flew over to the trees. He landed in the trees, and he said, "Oh, this is terrible." And he took his wings, and he rubbed, and he rubbed, and he rubbed, until he rubbed those 2 large circles all owls still have around their eyes to this day. Skunk was getting closer and closer to the goal line. It looked like the animals were going to win the game, when Blue Jay, the squawkingest of all the birds, Blue Jay said, "Well, I'll go. I'll stop him. I'll go. I'll stop him." And Blue Jay flew out of the trees, flew down in front of Skunk, and he began to dart back and forth and back and forth. And while he was darting back and forth, Hummingbird, the smallest of all the birds, Hummingbird came in, Hummingbird got the ball from Skunk's back, and Hummingbird flew past the goal line, and the birds won the game. Blue Jay was so proud of what he had done. He went around bragging about it all day long. "The birds are number 1. I did it. I did it. The birds are number 1. I did it. I did it." He was so proud of what he had done. He went all throughout the forest putting up signs to let everyone know that the birds are number 1. Still to this day, if you go out into the woods and you find a blue jay's nest, do not take it down, but look. Hanging from the bottom of it will always be a string in the shape of the number 1 to let you know the birds really are number 1. What a